I want to try to express some thoughts and feelings as best I can, and I strongly suspect that by the end of this, I'll wish I had expressed some things better and probably added some things into the fabric of it that won't be here, maybe even extracted some things that will be, I don't know. But each year it feels like I find myself quasi-paralyzed with how to respond, and I'm deliberately not looking totally into the camera even though I'm the only one here. I find myself struggling to express the gratitude that I possess and think and feel deeply on the heels of my birthday passing. And it happens every year ever since the world of Facebook landed, or since I launched a profile on Facebook, which I did originally because my friend Cliff was turning 60. And so I needed to connect out with a lot of people because we were going to assemble a surprise birthday party for him, which we did. Or it may not have even been a surprise. I don't even recall now. This is what happens when you hit this phase of dementia that I now enter. All that said, my birthday and the aftermath has become among my favorite days in the calendar year after year, because I get to see this cavalcade of wishes that just come through my news feed, one after another, after another, after another. And some might be as brief, literally, as HBD, all in capital letters. And then some people will put up several lines of content. Some people will text me, of course, and some call and so on. And with that said, I'm overwhelmed every single year. I literally look at all the messages and I think about the people and I think about the way that God brought each of you into my life. And I'm so thankful. And I know I have varying levels of connection, let's say, with varying people, obviously, as all of us do. Some of you are inextricably melded with the marrow of my soul, and some I've never even met. Some are clients we've served through the years, and even in other countries whom I've never met. Sometimes they'll drop me a message through email or Facebook or whatever, phone calls. So all that said, I just want to tell you how grateful I am. We've been able to celebrate in our family a couple of other birthdays. On the front side of my birthday is my dad's. My dad, he was absent from our lives for a long time, and thankfully, gratefully, we are that God restitched him into our lives. Sorry, this is my post-birthday, having eaten a gazillion calories today as we celebrated my mom's birthday. So less than a month ago, we celebrated my dad's birthday. He's now completed 85 orbits around the sun, and I'm waiting for NASA to issue a commemorative patch. My mom, her birthday comes this week, and we celebrated her today. I'll try to post some pictures. And in between, we lost a special aunt, my Aunt Lou, whom most people know as Sarah. And we lost her. She's with the Lord. Still not looking directly into the camera because I can do better if I just think rather than think about. I'm not a very great in front of the camera guy. I have more of a face for radio. All right, let's see. But the reality is that your expressions meant and mean so much to me, and I just can't possibly, it would be impossible to overstate how much they mean and how much all of you mean, and how grateful I am to each of you who took the time, even if it was an HBD or if it was something extremely thought out, a lot of time invested, and there were a number of folks who did that. Some of my favorite times in my life when I have two younger sisters, one older, when my two younger sisters were growing up, often would read to them before they would go to bed, especially my youngest sister of all, because we have a pretty big age gap. So I would read to her a lot of times before she would go to bed, and she loved it. And she is a wordsmith and a reader, and so are my other two sisters, really. But I would read to my two younger sisters, Amy and Samantha. And then Samantha had a daughter, and she always calls me uncle. I'm really probably more like a granddad, but she calls me uncle. And I tell you, maybe my favorite days on earth have been the times when I got to put her down, and meaning I would get to read to her 1 or 2 or 3 stories, and then she would go to sleep. And one of my favorite books I ever gave her is by a pastor named Max Lucado. It's called You Are Special, and she used to ask me to read that about every 3rd night. And there were other stories. The Runaway Bunny, a great story by Margaret Wise Brown, I think her name is. A million great stories out there. I won't even name them all. I won't try. And so I would read to her, and then I don't know when this happened. They lived here. I'm right now in St. Pete. I'm stinky in St. Pete, shaveless, showerless. If you have this wafting aroma of stench coming to you through your digital device, that's the fault of me. And it even transcends space and time. That's why it's able to creep through your speakers or your video of your phone or whatever, right, computer. So all that said, I would I'd read the allotted 1, 2, or 3 stories. It would usually be prescribed by her parents. How, all right, we only have time for 2 stories, cool. And I'd read those stories to her. And after they moved from here is when this took shape. It wasn't when they were here in St. Pete. They moved away. I always say that my sister and brother-in-law moved to Tennessee, and they had the audacity to take with them my little niece, just because she was their sister, just because she was their daughter, those dastardly villains. And so we developed this thing, and it probably, I don't remember how it originated, but every night I would read her the stories. We would pray together, and then I would kind of back out of her room, and she has this double door, and before I would back out and close the double door, leaving her with hopefully with peaceful sleep and dreams and all that would be in store, and the rest and the invigoration and the resetting of her whole brain and body and everything that night for the following day. She would blow me a kiss, and she would blow me a kiss, or I would try to think of the sequence of it. Who blew whom the first kiss? I think she would blow me a kiss. So she would blow me a kiss, and then she would say, I love you, Uncle. And she'd say, where did you catch it? And I would say, 100% of the time. I bet I blew her a kiss first. I think I blew her a kiss first. I'd blow her a kiss, and I wanted to blow her a kiss with both hands. I wanted her to know my whole heart was in it, and my whole heart was in her. And so I would blow her a kiss, and she would say, Uncle. Sometimes she'd say, I caught it, and her R's would soften at that time, so she didn't hit them hard, and she would say, I caught it on my forehead, or I caught it on my cheek, or I caught it on my chin. And then she would say, sometimes I caught it in my heart, and that was my favorite, when she would say, I caught it in my heart. And then she would blow me a kiss back before I would exit the room, and she would say, where did you catch it, Uncle? 100% of the time I said, I didn't want to catch it on my cheek or my forehead or my nose. Sometimes she'd catch it on her nose or ear or whatever. And every single time I caught her kisses in my heart that she blew me. And then I would close her doors. And then usually set my hand on her door and pray for her to have a good night of peace. And so, to that end, even the URL for my biz is People I Love. And I always want to try, I know it's atypical and it can come off bizarre and weird, and this may come off bizarre and weird, and I don't really care. I don't think I care. It may come off stupid, and the beauty is that I'm more stupid than I might come off, and so therefore the actual perception of my stupidity can be mitigated by versus the reality. So I'm okay with all of it. But the reality is that I always want the people in my life to know how much I love them. And I often will finish some statement in capital letters with much blessing and much love. And so to that end, and in that same sense, just want to thank you all again. And in the same spirit of the interchange that I've shared with my niece so many times over and yet not remotely enough, just want to say much blessing, much love, and I hope that you really do catch it in your heart and that you have many good days ahead. And thank you so kindly for taking the time to reach out and to wish all the happy birthday wishes in all the ways that you did them. I'm really grateful. Thank you. Now, I think to close, I will reach up like Kermit did in the Rainbow Connection during this whole COVID arena and finish this off.